All right, welcome back. We're jumping right into a question that's becoming absolutely critical for any business today. How do you even begin to understand your relationship with the natural world? We're going to break down that very first step using a really powerful framework from the TNFD. That's the Task Force on Nature-Related Financial Disclosures.
And that's the big question, isn't it? I mean, really think about it. It's not just about the land your factory is built on. It goes so much deeper. We're talking about the water, the soil, the forests, all the natural resources that are buried deep inside your global supply chains and investment portfolios.
You know, on the surface, these two worlds, business and nature, they can feel totally separate. But the truth is, they're completely intertwined. A change in a river basin thousands of miles away can have a direct impact on your bottom line. We just need a way to see those connections clearly.
So here's our game plan for today. First, we'll get a handle on just how big this challenge is. Then, I'll introduce you to your compass for this journey. We'll get into the nitty-gritty of how you actually draw this map of your nature footprint, see how to bring it to life, and then wrap up with why this map is such a game changer. So, let's dive in. Okay, first things first, we have to appreciate the problem we're trying to solve. For pretty much any big organization, trying to map its nature footprint is a massive, massive job. Why? It really comes down to the unbelievable complexity and sheer scale of modern business.
I mean, just try to picture it. A global food company that's sourcing ingredients from literally thousands of different farms and suppliers around the world. Or think about a giant financial institution, like a pension fund, whose investments touch almost every corner of the global economy. How do you possibly get a clear picture of all those connections to nature? The scale is just staggering.
And that is exactly where our compass comes into play. To deal with this kind of overwhelming complexity, the TNFD developed a really smart, actionable framework. It's called the LEAP approach. So LEAP gives you a clear path forward. You locate, then you evaluate, you assess, and finally, you prepare. It takes this huge, intimidating task and breaks it down into manageable steps. And for our purposes today, we are zeroing in on that all-important first step, locate.
So what do we actually mean by the locate phase? Well, it's all about creating a foundational map. It's the process of identifying every single point where your business touches or interfaces with the natural world. If you look at the official TNFD guidance, this is how they define locate. It's about pinpointing your organization's interface with nature. And this is the really important part. It's not just about your direct operations, your own factories and offices. It's about your entire value chain, across every single sector and every geography you operate in.
And this is the core question that drives that whole process. It forces you to take a hard, systematic look at everything your business does, and this is crucial, where it does it. This simple question is the launchpad for everything that comes next. Okay, so you've asked the question, but how do you possibly answer it at a global scale? I mean, you can't just go and analyze thousands of individual suppliers one by one. You need a way to see the big picture, to find the real hotspots.
The main tool that lets us cut through all this complexity is a really powerful technique called heat mapping. It's designed to take a mountain of information and make it simple, visual, and intuitive. So, heat mapping kicks off with a really broad, high-level screening of your entire business. The best way to think about it is like a satellite scan of your company's whole global footprint. You're basically casting this wide net to get a first impression of where your dependencies on nature are probably the highest. This little table here gives you a really simple example of how that works. You're basically giving scores to different parts of your business based on how much they likely rely on nature. So, agriculture and mining? Yeah, that's a high dependency. Tech services? Probably a lot lower. When you start applying this logic across your whole portfolio, a clear pattern starts to show up. And this is the payoff. This is your heat map. All of a sudden, that overwhelming, complex global footprint starts to make sense. You can see it. The red areas are your hotspots, places with a high dependency on nature. The yellow areas are moderate. Now, this map doesn't give you all the answers, but what it does, crucially, is tell you exactly where you need to start digging deeper.
Look, this isn't just about making a cool-looking graphic. Creating this map is a fundamental strategic step. It's about turning that overwhelming flood of data into actual actionable intelligence.
So here's the bottom line. The heat map lets you prioritize. You can't boil the ocean, right? This map shows you where to focus your limited time, money, and people on those red hotspots. It lets you spot potential risks before they turn into full-blown crises, and it perfectly sets you up for the next step in the LEAP approach: evaluate.
So the map is drawn and the hotspots are literally glowing on the screen. We now know where to look. But that just leads to the next big question, doesn't it? What exactly are we looking for? How do you measure the real financial risks and dependencies that are hiding in those hotspots? We'll get into that in our next explainer.